What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Solalgo AMA. Now, Solalgo, in brief, is a company that looks to use their token in order to acquire companies and use the profits and the growth of those companies to grow the Solalgo token as a whole. And what we have today is an AMA with the two co-founders of Solalgo, and they're going to give you guys their information and input on exactly what the company does and what you can expect from them. So without further ado, let's get into the AMA. We are here with the team from Solalgo. We have Barry and we have Derek. Guys, how are you doing?
How you doing, Tyler? Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Hey,
Looking
Tyler, how are you?
Good,
looking for
man. Good. Long day. Well, we have, of course, a couple questions that we're going to ask you guys just in regards to Solalgo. Of course, this is going out to my Patreon community. This is going out to the investment group. We have people in there who are kind of just curious, wanting to learn more about the company as a whole. And so I guess we'll just kind of start it from start to finish, just go over some of the most important details and just kind of let people know what the company does. So before we get into that, though, how about you guys just kind of tell me a little bit about yourselves, some of your prior history, so people will understand kind of where Solalgo came from.
Sure, Derek. Do you want to kick off with this one?
My background is financial. I started off writing tip sheets for stocks at the London Stock Exchange back when Adam was in the Highlanders a long, long time ago. And I progressed from there to becoming a trader, then becoming an analyst, and then becoming a promoter of companies onto the LSE and onto the New York Stock Exchange and onto the OTC market in Chicago and places like that. I've got nearly 35 years of experience in analytics, trading, and high end stock understanding of the markets and understanding of the development of companies. And pretty much that's it.
As far as I'm concerned, Tyler, I was on the board of a FTSE some of the American, some of your American fraternity. FTSE is like the top 100 companies on the London Stock Exchange. So I was on the board of a FTSE 100 company called Capita PLC back in the 90s and early 2000s. Then turned my attention with Derek actually to online gaming and also live. We had some live poker clubs as well in London. Was very much part of the kind of poker evolution back in the early 2000s. And right up until about 3 years ago, I've been always involved in online gaming, a few acquisitions, a few sold a few of the businesses as well. But that's pretty much my background.
So kind of being that you both have more of a traditional professional kind of approach, right, to entrepreneurship and just kind of life in general, I would say, how did you end up in the world of crypto, right? Because the world of crypto sometimes is looked at as non-traditional or a little bit crazy. So how did you all kind of end up in the realm of crypto?
Well, I suppose what happened was I was aware of crypto going back to 2012. But I kind of dismissed it pretty much like every traditionalist. Oh God, it's here today, gone tomorrow. Lots of people will make some money out of it, and some people will make lots of money out of it, and a lot of people are going to get stung by it. And I think that was proven for a while. But then lockdown came along, and I found myself with nothing to do for quite a while. And I started to look at crypto a lot more seriously, and the potential, not so much of crypto, but of blockchain technology and how that could work on a global way, not just the way it was working, but long term. And I became very convinced through analytics, through a lot of study, through a lot of reading, that it's the way forward. To me, it's going to be the future. And I'm not saying that the dollar is gone today or the euro is gone today. What I am saying is that within a reasonably short period of time, we will all be financially trading using blockchain technology and probably some form of cryptocurrency. Right? And I'm based on that, right? I began to formulate an idea. My background, as I said, is traditional. You know, we find the companies, we find money for the companies, we issue shares in the companies, and then we promote the companies, and the company does its work and makes dividends for the shareholders. I thought it might be an idea because when I looked at the crypto markets, I found a reasonably high proportion of them. I'm not sure what they did. It wasn't clear what they did. Yeah, they were worth a lot of money, but I wasn't sure why, right? And I certainly couldn't see a projection beyond maybe 2 or 3 years for any of them. So I decided that if a cryptocurrency company had tangible assets, what would it look like? And how could we marry the idea of crypto to tangible? Now, while I have a good first background in traditional company building and conglomerate building, my crypto knowledge wasn't good enough. So I knew a guy who did know a bit about crypto. Over to you, Barry.
Well, like Derek said, we married the traditional with the with crypto, and where I kind of played a big part is going back to like 2013, 2014. A lot of people, a lot of our bigger players, our VIPs within the gaming industry, started to deposit with cryptocurrency, and I was very interested to find out exactly what this was all about, and try and understand the technology, if this was here to stay. Is it something that as a gaming business we wanted to invest in long term, which we did? And I'm just I'm that kind of guy that wanted to find out everything about it, and I started investing myself, started understanding more about the whole marketplace. And I think I've had a Coinbase account since pretty much when they started. That's how long ago it was, 2014 or 15 or so. I can't remember now, but it's been a long time, and always been a bit of a hodler, even through the dark times. So I've always thought that cryptocurrency, and still do believe that cryptocurrency is something that we just cannot ignore.
Yeah. And so would you say, Barry, that you have like a little bit of experience kind of in a non-traditional sense, considering the fact that you were a part of the online gaming crowd early on when probably a lot of people didn't really accept it for a big major player within the world? Would you say like there are similarities there kind of entering into the world of crypto that you're kind of used to already?
I would say so. I think in the early days of online gambling and gaming, there was a reticence for acceptance for things like getting a bank account for a gaming company wasn't easy to do. There were no licenses available. It was a little bit Wild West, very similar to what cryptocurrency's been like to a point. And that soon changed because regulations come in. All of the rules, and especially now the US has started to adopt state by state rules when it comes to legislature for gambling. It's really brought the gaming into the mainstream, and I think that's going to happen very much with cryptocurrency, especially after everything that's happened in the last 6 months with SBF, FTX, Gemini, so on and so forth. And I'm sure there's still a few to fall by the wayside as we go. So yeah, definitely some parallels there.
Right. And so I guess that kind of leads us in, now that we kind of have a good understanding of how you guys got to this point, is where did the idea of Solalgo come from? Right. I know you guys had ideas, of course, of what you could do and how you could enter into crypto, but why Solalgo? Why kind of an acquisition based company? And how did you get to that point of determining this is exactly what we want to do?
I think, first and foremost, I have a relatively in depth knowledge of banking procedures, how banks work, how money works, how the international transfer of money works, right? And I also have a fairly good understanding of the analytics of any company that's either producing, manufacturing, or basically acquiring, including mergers and acquisitions. I looked at this and I looked at banks and I thought, why can't crypto be a bank? Why can't we use cryptocurrency to be a bank? Obviously, the problem is that a lot of companies won't accept a new coin as a purchasing instrument. So you have to then convert it to fiat in order to allow it to be a purchasing instrument. So I said to Barry, what if we set up a bank with loads of our own issued coin in it, and we use that coin to sell through the exchanges to gain fiat, and for the fiat to be used to purchase businesses that we could identify had a more than 85% chance of succeeding. So that was basically the basis of it when I first spoke to Barry. Obviously, it's come on a ton since then, and we've understood how to do all of this now, and we've developed the algorithm, we've issued and minted the coin, we've done all of this, right? And we've already acquired projects, but essentially it was me going to Barry and said, "Why can't we?" And him saying, "Well, we can." That's where it all. That's the genesis, Tyler.
I see. And so if you could give somebody maybe like a 1 minute elevator pitch for them to kind of understand that, a 1 minute elevator pitch of what Solalgo is, how would you describe Solalgo to somebody if you say just met them somewhere?
Well, I think when we first Derek's a detail guy, right? And when we first wrote the white paper, I think Derek got it. He said, I've edited it down to like 85 pages. And I'm like, that's just never going to fly. He goes, no, we need to be very detailed. And I went, no, Derek, you need to be, detailed, yes. But you get past three pages, people are not going to read it. And we've ended up with a 30-page white paper, a 4-page pitch deck. And even as I hope none of our investors watch this, but even our investors, our seed investors who have put 6 figures each into this, or in one case 7 figures into the business, I've never read the white paper or the pitch deck. And this is a common problem within cryptocurrency. People just go, oh, I like the sound of that, I'll put 50 BNB in, for 1 BNB in, whatever. It's a strange situation. So what we've done is we've actually narrowed it right down, and on the first page of our website, we've actually got it down to a very simple 5-step process. Okay. And those processes are: first step, we sell Solalgo tokens to raise fiat. We use that's step 1. Step 2, we use our very good investment team led by Derek, along with our AI algorithm. I know AI is a nice word to have in there, but we've been doing it. I watched it on a recent video of yours, Tyler. You went, everyone's using AI now. we had it on our website probably 18 months ago, and in our white paper 2 years ago. So this is not something that we've just said, oh, just because Chat GPT's around, we're going to put it on there. We didn't. Okay, we've been doing it a while because we've got some really good developers. The algorithm goes and finds our businesses along with the investment team. Step 3, we buy those businesses. Step 4, the businesses make us profit and dividends. Those profit and dividends are then given back to Solalgo. Solalgo takes all of that cash, goes into the open market and buys Solalgo tokens. Now, obviously, that puts a huge amount of buy pressure on the token, which is great for token holders. And on the back of that, which obviously now we're thinking about bringing down the actual supply, driving up more demand, we burn all of those tokens that Solalgo's now bought. So over the period, we're projecting between 3 and 4 years, up to a maximum of 70%. We will get to 70% of all Solalgo tokens out of the billion that we've issued. We'll be left with only 300 million. And then step 5, very simple. Derek's great idea about turning all of the opportunities for our token holders into listing all of the conglomerate of businesses we have onto a major stock exchange somewhere, New York, London, etc. And now the very simple 5 steps of Solalgo. But obviously there's a lot of work in the background that goes into those 5 steps. But that, in a nutshell, exactly what Solalgo is.
So, of course, kind of like you said, the whole movement right now, kind of what's kind of taking over the world, is AI and artificial intelligence. And I will agree. So I came across the Solalgo team probably, I would say at least 6, 7, 8 months ago, somewhere around there. And they did have AI mentioned all over the website way before, Chat GPT caught up. So I'll give you credit for that. But of course, in this current wave, a lot of people are going to be, kind of questioning, what type of AI are you introducing? And now I know you guys are, you have to have a certain level of confidentiality in terms of talking about exactly what your AI and your algorithm can do. But can you kind of give them just a brief explanation of what exactly your algorithm is capable of, and what is it used for in terms of the Solalgo project?
In the simplest of terms, Tyler, it's a search and rank tool, right? So pretty much like Google, right? It looks for specifics that have been programmed into it to ask to look for, right? It searches the deep web. It uses various different type-hard processes to do it. It then generates a series of results which are predetermined only from the point of view of the questions asked being answered. Once those questions asked are being answered in process 1, right, my team then looks at this, right? We have a series of parameters that have to be met, with bars that have to be reached, right? If those bars are reached, then it goes into process two, where we do a deep, deep search, a deep, deep research. Traditionally, in any market, right, you have a practice of what's called due diligence, right? The due diligence necessary here is pretty standard. We observe every aspect of what has been done by any company for the last 200 years on any major stock exchange. Except this time, we can do it quicker, right? And we get more results. We go deeper, right? And that depth and that speed is then separated, so it allows us to be able to make a decision, right? And decision one is not always to buy the project. Sometimes decision one is to take this to the next stage. Because a lot of the time, a lot of the projects and businesses that we buy is dependent upon people, right? And the drive that people have within them, right, to make these things happen. And then you've got the economic argument, you've got the cost effective argument. Where we win, right, is we're using Solalgo coin to finance the business. Therefore, effectively, the businesses are debt free, right? Once you're debt free in any business, and anybody who's ever run a business knows that if you're debt free, right, the likelihood of success increases exponentially. Exponentially. Right? Now, debt free is only an idea, it's not real, because we have an onus to the people who are buying coin. We have an onus to the market itself, and we have an onus to the people who are working for these businesses. We have to think about them, and they have to be managed correctly. So the first decision in buying the project is essentially we have to get that right. And so far, we've got 3 projects that we've bought and have developed, and we've 3 projects that are currently developed. We bought them; they're currently developed. We intend to make that 30 projects by the end of year 3, right? And each is projected under reasonable terms to earn fulfilled amounts of money in order to bring us to the point where we can go into the market at a reasonable rate and decrease the issue of Solalgo by up to 70% of the entire issue.
So, one thing, sorry, Tyler. One thing I will say, just to make it easy for someone to understand what the algorithm and what Solalgo really does, is a great analogy that we've used before. Is if anyone's seen the film Moneyball, we find value where others seem to overlook. So the businesses we bought already are the Scott Hatterbergs and the Chad Bradfords, as you've seen in the film. And the nice thing about it is all of those businesses have been bought. So you're buying into something that's already real. It's not, we're not a platform that's just developing or investing in something that's developing. It's there, it's tangible, it's real, and it's trading. So it's ready to go.
The algorithm does provide us with a lot more information than you would normally get if you were just doing a normal due diligence test on any given product or company. And it gives it to us quick, and it's able to separate the dirt from the good, right? And it's really good at that, and it's really clever at it. And it allows people like me, analysts like me and my team, to work quicker, better, and be a lot more assured of the result prior to making the decision to acquire.
Right. So one thing that I constantly refer to, and I talk about AI a lot on my channel, right, is that oftentimes people feel like AI is something that's going to replace humans. And I don't necessarily think it to be the case. I think AI is something that could very well supplement us to, kind of continue evolution. And what it sounds like to me, which would be great if you could, give me your input on this, is that, of course, whenever it comes to AI, when it comes to technology, a lot of that is replaceable. Right. So if, say, someone could figure out exactly what the Solalgo algorithm does, they could do it themselves. But what they necessarily can't do is replace the experience that you, Derek, and you, Barry, and your team have in terms of analyzing the results from that algorithm. Right. And so would you say it gives you even further advantage considering just the pure experience that you have of being able to kind of rationalize all of the data and information given to you from an algorithm?
It was a great epiphany to me, Tyler, when Barry first, when we did the first tests on ALGL, but it was an epiphany to me, the speed at which we could access, right, information that really, really would have taken a long time to access in traditional ways. Do we have an advantage? Yeah, we have an advantage. One, because we're both no longer spring chickens, right? We've both been round the circuit several times, right? And as I said before, we own the T-shirt and we built the statue. Right? So there's very little that we haven't experienced by way of how to do things. And you always come back to the same thing, Tyler. Do it right. It's hard work. Do it right. Make sure you get it right. Cross all your T's, dot all your I's, and don't make promises you can't keep.
Absolutely. So I guess that kind of leads us into the question is now that we understand that for the most part, right, it's a pretty simple process that has some very, very intricate and complex levels to it, right? But overall, being that the focus here is kind of the acquisition of companies using the Solalgo token as the bank and the fuel to be able to do that, what would you say the major incentivizations for someone, someone who's watching, who's like, I want to invest in Solalgo, but why should I? What do you think the major incentivizations are here in terms of actually purchasing the token and being an investor of the project?
Well, I'll take this one, Derek, if you don't mind. Or I'm sure you'll have your own thoughts. But if you just step back a second and take a look at exactly what we're trying to achieve, okay? So you're buying in a token at a set price, okay? Now, backed that token with real tangible assets. Now, as we go forward, we'll be adding to that conglomerate of businesses that we're buying. All of those businesses will provide information that we can put out into Twitter, onto Telegram, all of the really good news that we can keep providing in the market will be all points in time that will be excellent buy points and put buy pressure on the token as we go forward, irrelevant of all of the burns and everything else that we're doing. The amount of really good information about buying some new land, or we've got to a million hampers that we've sold on Vetcura, or we've got to 700 hectares of marijuana that we've just produced somewhere. All of these things that we can start getting out into the market, which we have already some quite juicy information that's going to be posted post sale of the past the pre-sale. It makes for a very interesting scenario where we kind of see the flow over the next 2 to 3 years of how this is going to proceed. Now, Derek, in previous AMAs, has come up with some very simple evaluations on where the coin could go. I'm a little more bullish than Derek when it comes to it. I'm not going to start. Yeah. See, I've got an idea. If we can get this right, this could be pretty huge as far as a token is concerned, because there's an end game, which there's not many tokens out there or overall projects that has a very specific start, middle, and an end. We've got all of that. It's like a book. You read every page, you get to the end, and there's a pot of gold waiting for you at the end of that rainbow. It's very exciting for any token holder. Now, I'm not going to say it, Derek, because I know you'll have a go at me after if I say I think the coin's going to go to this because of these reasons. But I'm sure you'll have your own comments on that one.
Look, the numbers presented so far, right? And bear in mind, this is a movable feast. Markets change, prices change, situations change. The numbers dictated so far, right? We own 3 projects. We own 6. 3 are developed, 3 are in development. The projection is that we will own 30 plus by 2027, right? The projections within each of them are based on traditional accounting projections over 3-year periods, each one, right? And these basically form the targets for each of the CEOs of each of the companies. Each of the companies is independently operated by its independently appointed CEO, and it reports, right, in a normal way. However, they're all owned by Solalgo in its entirety, right? They're owned in their entirety by Solalgo. What we have is a situation whereby in traditional projections and traditional valuations, I can look the camera straight in the eye and say that the minimum price this will reach within 3 years is 60 cents, right? The reasonable price to evaluate it at, right, based on traditional values is $1.60, right? And that is with us achieving the 70% burn and the 300 million left in. This allows me now to be able to formulate and develop a calculated way in which to bring this to a stock market and therefore offer a share per coin return, right? And in the event that you don't want a share per coin return, we'll buy the coins, right? We'll buy them in the open market off you. These are not make-you-up figures. These are figures that have gone through every form of forensic audit that you could imagine. Now, Barry's right. I could be wrong, right? The coin might not be 160. It could be $20. It could be $30. It could be $200. The very nature of the crypto market frightens the life out of me in that respect. So what I'm giving you is numbers that are based on traditional values, right? That doesn't mean that we won't go and buy. We're currently negotiating to buy a cobalt mining license in the Republic of the Congo. Now, we could get that right. And instead of getting $2 million out of the ground in cobalt, we could end up getting $50 million out of it. And then my numbers they're all gone. It's different, right? Marijuana could be licensed tomorrow worldwide, right? Currently, I'm projecting on certain levels of marijuana on the cost of the land, the cost of the production, the cost of the distribution. I'm projecting on numbers based today. That can change tomorrow, right? But the flexibility that Solalgo has, for argument's sake, I'll give you an example of the flexibility. With the marijuana company, which is called Buds, right? I was approached by people in Finland to put together a company based on solar power, which we're calling the Green Exchange, right? Now, when we looked at these, it made sense that when we bought the land in southern Spain for the marijuana production, we buy extra land and house the solar panels on it south facing because Spain is a sunny place, right? And as long as we could buy it, so it changed the way in which we bought the land. We now had to buy it towards a service station for a company called Endesa, which is the big sort of electricity supplier here in Spain, right? So we had to change that. But when we did, we were getting better value, much better value. And now instead of having just one company occupying this land, we've got two. So we're getting a bigger return. So the initial projections that I had for those two companies, I had to upgrade because it was costing less to do it. So that's the flexibility we have by having the opportunity to take money from the crypto coin and use it as fiat to develop these companies and then turn it back into the crypto coin and then turn it back into shares on the stock market. And the markets we go to will be New York or London, one or the other.
I have to caveat what Derek's saying because if you just think a little bit wider and you think of a snowball effect. Now, Derek's run these set of projections on a very conservative hike in price over time for Solalgo for the token. Now, if we start excelling that price, then we buy more businesses. Mm-hmm. We buy more businesses, the price goes up, we make more money. I honestly believe that if with the right turn of wind, as far as the market, Bitcoin moving forward, etc., we could see a much more bullish outlook.
I don't disagree with that, Barry. But what I would say to Tyler is, if Tyler put $1,000 into Solalgo tomorrow for a second, right, and I'm saying to him, based on traditional Pricewaterhouse type valuations, I will be giving him a 40%, 400 times return on that money, right? Okay, then he's going to be reasonably happy on it. He's not going to be unhappy. I agree with you that valuations in crypto are all over the place, and we could get really, really good. We won't get unlucky with buying the businesses, but we could get lucky.
Yeah.
Right. And that would make the difference. And I look at crypto valuations, and I see, valuations going to $200-300, and I'm looking at them saying, yeah, but the fundamentals of this company is only $50. Why is it $300? Right? So I agree. I am the conservative, boring bastard here, and I will continue to be, because I know that I will make a return. If he gives me $1,000 of his money, I am responsible for that. I am entirely, and so are you. And we need to make sure he gets that money back with a profit in reasonable time.
So you would say basically, one of the major incentivizations here is that whenever someone invests in the token, they're investing in, again, as you mentioned, the tangible assets being the businesses that actually bring in revenue that will then be paid back out to them. So basically, I mean, kind of in simpleman's terms here, when someone buys a token, they're also investing into these companies as well, kind of like equity holders by chance.
When someone buys a token, they're investing in us being able to buy companies using the right technology, right, to turn those companies into profit making enterprises that will in turn be put back into the crypto market. That's what they're investing in.
Right.
So either they believe that we can do it, and they believe our track record to date, and they believe the concept has value, or they don't. Right? That's it. And I'm very, very happy that Barry is very optimistic, and I'm boring. I just am. I am. To me,
Only sometimes.
200% return on your money is outstanding. You
Right.
know, but to Barry, it needs to be 1,000% return, and I get it.
Sure.
I get that. Yeah.
To the moon, baby.
Right. Welcome to crypto, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I guess kind of to wrap things up here, I guess what we'll move into is kind of the future. So we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present. What can, maybe in 2 or 3 minutes explanation here, what can someone who's like, okay, I understand where they come from. I understand the traditional and non-traditional background they have. I understand that this is a company looking to acquire companies, bring on more tangible assets to bring real intrinsic value. What can they now say is or expect from the team, from Barry, from Derek, from the analyst? What can an investor expect going forward from you all? Right? Is it to make sure you can purchase as many properties or not properties, sorry, projects and businesses as possible? Is it to buy the best businesses possible? Is it to just simply bring on what makes the most return? What can they expect from you when they invest into the company?
Well, from yeah, look, as far as the the marketing side and everything, obviously Derek will cover what the businesses are going to return. But we're going to, like I alluded to in the previous question, there'll be a constant flow of information coming out, providing all of our token holders and the general public as much information as we can get out, because that will only aid in the overall buy pressure on the Solalgo token, which is great for any early adopters within Solalgo, and great for us because the token goes up, we buy more businesses, we make more profit, we put money back into the market, the token goes up, we make more money, and it's a very, very productive circle that we've tried to produce here. And out of our own money that we've put in, literally Derek and I are plus obviously our seed investors, but we've put in a huge amount of money into this to get us to the point whereby the algorithm's tested. We've bought these 3 businesses, another 3 are in development. So, you're getting this for free as an early adopter in the token.
Yeah, I think let's just pick you up on slightly on something, Tom. We won't just be buying businesses. We will be approached by people with projects that they want us to examine to see can they be turned into profitable businesses. This happens quite a lot. People have ideas. Right? One of the problems they've got with approaching somebody like me is I'm not really interested in just talk. I like to see action. I like to see people do things. You can talk about making millions tomorrow. You can talk about this, that, and the other, right? But the reality is that if you don't do it, that's all it is then, is talk. Right? Crypto is exciting. I know that a lot of people watching your channel are in their 20s and 30s, Tyler, and I'm an old man and an old codger. But I am genuinely in awe of the concept of crypto. The practice, not so much in awe of, right? But I know that will correct itself. Back in 2002, when Barry and I were doing the poker thing, the owner of a poker company came to me and he said to me, one day everybody will be playing poker on the phone. And I said, not a chance. Right? You know Eastside, don't you, Barry?
Yeah, the owner of Poker Stars, who sold his business for many billions of dollars to.
Yes, and he was right, and I learned a lesson from that. Don't underestimate technology. don't underestimate the value of imagination of people who can bring concepts to a market that embrace the traditional but take it forward progressively and at speed, right? And crypto does that. Blockchain does that. And what we want to do is be the biggest investment bank for operational businesses as a conglomerate in the world. And I think that's achievable, and it's achievable without, to paraphrase, breaking the bank. It's achievable to be able to do it safely on behalf of people without people waking up tomorrow morning and finding, oh, they've no assets. Well, God, you could have seen that a week ago, they've no assets.
Right. So, and I guess that kind of does allude to the question here is that, sometimes, like you mentioned, crypto is a weird place, right? And I've been in crypto for, I think this is my 5th year fully in it, right? And I've noticed something is that oftentimes people have the desire for instant gratification in this space. And it's just kind of just the way it goes. But I think that's starting to change a little bit. And so would you guys also agree that Solalgo isn't something that people should have these expectations like, oh, next month we're going to 100x. Next, you see the craziness, right? You'll 100x within 30 days, blah, blah, blah. Or is this more of an operation that, sure, it may take time, and sure, it might not be the most fast moving thing that you're going to see in 2023, but over time with the approach, it is going to be a consistent thing and a more of a long-term approach.
We're definitely not a meme coin, Tyler, that's for sure, or some shit coin, or etc. Look, you can never predict the future when it comes to token prices, right?
Of course.
But if you look at the actual fundamentals of our project, you would have to see that this is, I wouldn't say a slow burn, but it's something that is going to be a solid investment over time, and one that, I wouldn't imagine is going to see some weird ski slope up and down style charts. It's going to be a nice, slow, steady growth of a token price over the next, 3 to 5 years.
Here's the thing, Tyler, right? We are safe, but right, there are parameters on how many coin are in the market, right? We don't have an unlimited amount of Solalgo coin in the market. So therefore, depending on market conditions, depending on liquidity, and depending on speed of trade, right, we could, literally, as Barry likes to keep saying, go to the moon, right?
Mars,
because
actually.
If we manage to buy the right businesses, and I think we will manage to buy the right businesses. In fact, I know we'll manage to buy the right businesses. The one thing every crypto investor can take absolute assurance of in Solalgo is it's safe. Now, you show me many cryptocurrencies that one of the founders will stand up and look in the eye and say, lads, it's safe, right? And yes, there is every chance it'll go to $10, but I'm telling you that it will definitely go to 60 cents, $1.60. It'll definitely do that. And that's from 40 years of experience of doing projections. And it's safe. And if everything messed up tomorrow, we own all the assets.
Right. That's what I love that. And, I think the space needs that. I think that we're in a position in the space where we've kind of been beaten up. If you've been around since 2019, 2020 to now, at least, we've been beaten up quite a bit, right? And I think a lot of people have learned their lessons that a lot of these companies don't actually offer anything. I'm not one of those people who throws around the term pyramid scheme or, things kind of like that often, but most of crypto does kind of meet that description, right? Ponzi schemes in which when the day comes where people stop buying the token, well, there goes the company, right? But whenever you can actually take your funds and invest it into tangible assets that'll make money, whether or not the token price is doing well, you can kind of separate yourself from that conversation pretty
The
easily.
behavior of some of the people in the crypto market should not demean the concept of crypto or blockchain technology.
Right.
It should under no circumstance do that.
Right.
You will, in every market, in the penny market in London, the penny market in the US, you have people doing all sorts of strange things on the stock markets. But that doesn't demean the idea of why the stock market's there and why it continues to succeed.
Right. And so I guess that kind of puts you all in a position, at least for the more serious investor, right? And that's for many of the people who will be watching this, whether it be my community or the investment group, they're going to want something that they can trust that isn't a meme coin. It isn't something that's here today, gone tomorrow. And I think you guys have done a great job of showing that. And so I do appreciate it. And so I'm just kind of looking through here before we do go wrap it up. I think you guys have pretty much answered all of the questions that we did have. And that's just through natural conversation. So, of course, kudos to you. But I would say the one that I'm seeing, or the two here that I'm seeing, they have how many full-time employees does Solalgo have, and are there plans to add more?
Yeah, there's plans to add more. Currently, what we're doing is we have in total 7 full-time members of staff, 8 if you include the governance guy. Right, we never include the governance guy because we're sick of listening to him. He gives us so much shit every day. Right, so yeah, and then on top of that, we have a network of financial arrangements with everybody from legal, accounting, logistics, marketing. Right, I don't know how many's in that. Barry, lots.
Yeah,
Of
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems every day we sign a new consultancy agreement or a new agreement with somebody that's an expert in a field. I did it the other day with somebody over in California, of all places, who was an expert in distribution and fulfillment of pet products. Right? So, yeah, I know. And I mean, he's paid on results, don't get me wrong, but he's still paid and he has an agreement with us and it's an exclusive agreement. Right. So if you include that, there's probably about 40 people working for Solalgo at the moment.
Got you. Okay. And then the next one would be, is there a rough timeline for business acquisitions? And I know you did say that your goal is 30. I think you said about, was it 2027 or 2025? But is
That's
there
me. Barry'd like it be next week. That's me.
Spend it all. Let's go.
Right. But is there a rough timeline? Are we aiming for, a certain amount every few months or one a month? What's kind of the idea there in terms of pure acquisition?
I think there's natural thresholds, right? Okay. Our current projection is three a quarter, right? So one a month. Okay. But based on how much work has to be done with each project, the size of each project, right? So for argument's sake, if we buy a project that costs $100,000 to develop, that can be done relatively easily. But if we buy a project that costs $20 million to develop, that's a different case, right? It's going to take more time, more people, and we've got to be absolutely sure, 100% sure we're doing everything right in that. Legislation plays a big part in it as well, right? Logistics plays a big part in it, and also the budgets that are involved in how to do this properly and how to do it correctly, so that we don't find ourselves in debt.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. And I think that's pretty that works well for people because of course if they're going to invest in Solalgo, they have to be under the understanding that it's not going to move like crypto. In crypto, you can make a company in, like 30 minutes and then you can just call it a company. Whereas with Solalgo, you're dealing with real life companies that have real life employees and make real life money. And so of course that's a process within a process, right? So I guess
you can come and see it.
Right.
We're not hiding it. You can come and touch it.
Right.
You can come and look at the buildings. You can maybe, if you were so inclined, you could smoke a joint. Right? You can do these
things. Right. And so I guess to wrap it up here, what if someone is looking to get more information about Solalgo, if their goal here is to really do even more due diligence, as you mentioned, it's always important, what would be the best place for them to go to? Probably the white paper. Of course, I know that's pretty detailed, pretty extensive there.
Yeah, the white paper is a good place to start. If you are inclined in that way, you want to read 50 pages of it. The website's good because it kind of gives you a nice light touch on it. And there's the pitch deck, which is 5-6 slides of nice, colorful pictures about what Solalgo does. Derek and I are on the Telegram group pretty much every day, always on there to answer questions. So that's good. Twitter as well. That's a good place to ping us questions. So it's all there basically for you.
If a bunch of AMAs coming up, Tyler, and I think people who are interested in getting involved in Solalgo, ask us any question. Literally, let's use the AMA as an expression that actually means something. Ask us anything, right? If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know, right? But if I do know the answer, you're going to get it straight between the eyes, whether you like it or not.
Right. Perfect. Well, great. So let's do that. I'll have make sure all of the information is, of course, going to be posted. We have a link in the description. I'm going to make sure that the white paper pitch deck, Twitter, Telegram, all that is linked. Well, we are coming up on about 45 minutes here, and I know that you guys
Wow.
are busy men always, of course. And so, if there's any last things you want to say to the people who are going to, I would assume a good few people are going to make some pretty important decisions based off of this alone. So, if there's anything you guys want to say, you can go ahead and do that, and then we'll go
Yeah.
ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, literally, just as a closing, look, do your own due diligence, just like we do with our businesses. Read the paper, read the white paper, read the pitch deck. Do what you need to do to make the right decision for you and your family as far as investment goes. Because the last thing I would want you to do is think about Solalgo that we are not, and you make sure you figure it out yourself.
I basically have to throw a bone to Dre and you, right, at the extraordinary level of professionalism to date. It really has knocked me backwards. I didn't expect it in the sector that we're in, and yourself and Dre have been astonishing, and the other people, Raymond as well, astonishing. Right, well done, lads. I'm knocked sideways at how good you are.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We will have this sent out to the communities. And guys, I do appreciate your time. Look, we are, of course, if you are watching this from my community, I'm doing a lot of work with these guys in terms of getting the name out. I personally am a huge fan of it. And so, of course, we're doing a lot of work with them right now. A lot of big AMAs coming up soon. A lot of opportunities coming up in terms of, being able to get whitelist spots, private sale spots, pre-sale spots, everything you can think of in terms of becoming involved with Solalgo. It will all be available. So make sure that you are in the Telegram, you are engaging, you are talking to Barry, you are talking to Derek. Do remember, especially with, the guys here, that any questions that you may have, feel free to ask them. They've been doing this for a lot longer than I've even been alive. And so I would go ahead and tell you they can more than likely answer just about anything. But they will have a lot of stuff coming up soon. So make sure you do stay tuned, and we will all see you next time. Peace out, everybody.